Hello, Cindy Olin, and I am back. I know you guys missed me, right? Um, I am back with my dear friend, very special guest, Marcy Neumann. Today we are up-leveling your love life and removing any blocks to attract and create the kind of love relationship that you deeply desire and are so worthy of. Welcome, Marcy. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Cindy. And I'm so excited to be here, an honor. And I always love being part of your projects because they speak the truth.
Yes, yes. And so do you. That's why I like having you as a part of it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to share just a little bit about Marcy if you don't know her. I'm just going to give you a brief overview. If you've watched and listened to, some of my online events before, you've most certainly seen her. So she is considered the heart shift coach. And you have all these initials behind your name. RN, CHT, RMT. You're a professional energy healer, integrative intuitive counselor, spiritualist, minister, certified hypnotherapist, Reiki master. And you have founded Self-Love University, and you host the High Vibe Tribe podcast. I love that. Featuring expert guests on the cutting edge of new thought and consciousness. So, and just another little snippet for over 45 years in your professional journey, you've been guided by your own teaching, energy healing. I love your story too. Thank you. Proprietary process known as heart shifting.
That's right.
A recalibration to energy and leading to self-love. So we're going to talk about, how true love finds you when you find self-love. So this is a juicy topic.
Yes, it is.
I'm excited.
Can't wait to dive in.
Yes. So you're known as the Heart Shift Coach.
Yes.
How did you get this name? And maybe you could share a little bit more about what exactly is a heart shift.
So first off, thanks, Cindy, for having me again, and also for asking that really important question, because the truth of the matter is I'm the only heart shift coach in the whole world. And that is because the process that I use, which is heart shifting, is something that is the culmination of those 45 years that I've been working in this incredible spiritual and personal development field. And it is the culmination of, again, my experiences, but now the experiences that I've had with thousands of people around the world. And heart shifting is the one commonality that I found with all people, and particularly because I work with women, my experience has been in how women heart shift. And so that's what we're going to be talking about mostly today, although it certainly can be applied to men as well. But what heart shifting is the recalibration of the energy that creates the magnetic force, which then attracts new love to us. It actually attracts everything to us, but for our purposes today, of course, we're talking about relationships and romantic relationships in most, right? So what we're doing with heart shifting is recognizing that all things are energy. And what that means is that as we get to know energy and we get to recognize energy, we begin to also recognize that energy either has the potential to create what we want to experience or not. And so what I found with working with so many people is that there was all of this confusion because they would want something, but they didn't have a clue what the energies were that were necessary to create that. They didn't have a clue how to get from where they were to where they wanted to be. And that's mostly because we are 97, 98% governed by our past experiences. So what heart shifting does is it takes someone from really dwelling in the energy of the past that does not have the capacity or the potential to create what they want, and we then shift it by actually utilizing the natural energy of the heart, which is, of course, the divine aspect of us. And it's filled with light, and it's just waiting for us to tap into it. And so when we do, that energy now has a brand new potential, and we know how to use it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that potentiality, it becomes infinite.
Exactly.
So when we talk about that energy, and you're the expert in the energy of self-love, why is self-love so important? And does it really affect every single aspect of someone's life?
Yes and yes.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that we have to really begin to embrace this very intimate journey, and it is a journey, Cindy, of self-love. When we start to embrace that, it is dependent on one very particular thing, and that is our acceptance that we are a divine being.
Mm-hmm.
As such, our job is to align with that. What that means is that we're going to be called upon to let go of the patterns, the conditioning, the belief systems that are more of the human nature that, again, is governed by the ego. So we start to pivot more towards how we would, let's say, look through the eyes of love. And a lot of times with my clients, I'm focusing on teaching them how to look through the eyes of love. Because unless we can move into that energy ourselves, love ourselves, and make those what may be very challenging decisions, right? And creating change in our lives, we can't experience that high level of love that our heart is yearning for. And one thing that I want our audience to really take in this moment, and this came out in an interview I was doing with another spiritual teacher, and we were discussing this yearning of the heart. And it became so clear that the heart cannot yearn for or doesn't yearn for something that it hasn't experienced. And so this is where trust comes in. We have to just start to trust our heart, because our heart not only has experienced what it is that we want, but it knows how to take us there, because it's an energetic journey that
is so true and powerful.
it unfolds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, through getting, I feel like it can be challenging for someone to even access their heart too, and and really get that connection deep within. And maybe we can touch on that in a little bit. But I mean, does that have anything to do with why why finding and keeping true love is so challenging for people.
Absolutely. And I love that whole direction of our conversation. And again, you know, I rarely get an opportunity to talk about this on this level. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
But in order for us to, as you said, you know, actually even connect with that part of our heart, number one, there's a certain aspect of this, Cindy, that we just need to accept as truth. It
Mhm.
just is. And when we can start to accept ourselves, or even like what I say, if that's way too much for you at this moment, have some compassion for yourself and just ask, well, what if? What if Marcy, whatever Marcy is saying is right? I mean, you know, she's got a lot of experience. What if what she is saying is true? The moment that we start to ask, what if, the universe starts to fall at our feet and say, this is it, because it
Mhm.
is wired to respond to us. And it loves when we ask questions that are filled with possibility, which is what that question, what if, is filled with.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the other aspect is this. We need to cultivate the relationship with our higher self. We need to accept that this is going to be a very different journey than a journey that you took as sort of this mundane human that was stuck in, you know, the hamster wheel of all of the conditioning and programming and expectations from others and confusion about love itself. This is not that journey anymore. This is a brand new journey based on, and I love what you said right from the very beginning, Cindy, and that is love that you're worthy of.
Mhm.
So when we can accept that we are this divine being that is worthy, deserving of this true love, now we have to start asking questions. Well, what do I need to shift energetically to get into alignment with that energy? Because all things are energy. And this high energy, this high frequency love requires a high frequency being to be in alignment with it. So the journey that I take my clients through is one of deep intimacy. And
Mhm.
it's into me see. It's
Mhm.
really having this moment with your conscious mind sort of surrendering to the mind of the divine that's within you. It knows exactly who you are. It sees only love within you, and it knows why you're here, and it is going to do everything it possibly can for all of that to unfold from within you.
Mhm. And what are some of the questions one could, I mean, I love the question, you know, what do I need to shift energetically in order to get into alignment, you know, with that love vibration? Are there other questions that one could ask themselves?
Yeah. So, first off, I think one of the most important questions is to ask for help.
Hmm.
What kind of help do I need? Because the truth is, if we could identify all of this on our own, we would have done that already,
Right.
right? I mean, if there was a neon sign flashing in front of you and it said, you know, no true love here, would you go in that direction? No. But unfortunately, because of the conditioning, we keep heading in that direction. So we have to, again, this is another one of those things that we just have to accept. Sometimes we have to borrow someone else's eyes. We have to reach for a mentor. I know I do all the time. And I'm sure you do as well, Cindy, because when you're working in these realms, we must get out of our own way. And sometimes it requires the eyes of another that's more experienced in redirecting. So that's number one. But number two, we start to ask, am I happy with where I am?
That's a good question.
Am I happy with where I am? If the answer is no, then it's clear that something has to change. And we start to welcome the change because, of course, we don't want to be unhappy anymore. There are proverbial questions that all people ask. Who am I and what am I doing here?
So simple. Yeah, I don't know if they're not asked to ourselves all the time, right?
But each of us is asking that question. It's like, what am I doing here? Right? Or what am I doing here? I mean, and it can come through in so many ways. But the reason we ask that question of ourselves is because we're really wondering. We really want to know. So we start that journey. Well, what am I doing here? What's important to me? How do I want to be more fulfilled in my life? And that's when the real journey begins. Because when you ask, how do I want to be more fulfilled in my life? Here's how the universe responds. How about this? How about that? Try this, explore that. Go over here, go over there. And it just starts to give you all these opportunities to test things out, because that's how you find out. Now, if you're aware of this, right, you'll start to give yourself permission to explore those things. However, if you're still stuck in the belief system that whatever you've been doing is going to eventually take you where you want to go, you'll reject those opportunities. You'll turn your back on them, or you will diminish them and diminish their importance. And when you do that, you, of course, cut off the very energy source that's putting itself in front of you to take you to your bliss. And you know, Joseph Campbell spoke all the time about follow your bliss, follow your bliss. You have to be able to recognize it. And so that's the work that I do. I help people to raise their vibrational frequency so that they can start to see and to feel, more than anything, to recognize what really is their bliss, and then how to create a whole life that is surrounding that. I know I've made that journey. I imagine you have too, Cindy. That's why you're here.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's so many layers that we can peel back around this that make it so easy to do.
But we started from a very deep place, so it makes sense. Excuse me, we're just getting called to go deeper and deeper, which tells me a lot about your audience, by the way, because we wouldn't be led there if they weren't capable of taking all this in. So brava to you.
Yes, yes. I mean, everyone that's watching and listening, I know is, you know, they've got the invitation to continue to go deeper, and that's what they're hungering and longing for.
Yes.
And these questions that you've asked, you know, are so powerful. How do I want to be more fulfilled in my life? What would you say the number one thing someone can do to start cultivating self-love and self-love connection lifestyle?
Yeah. So, number one, again, we come back to this place of acceptance that self-love is the journey, because it's the actual key for you to have everything that your heart is yearning for. And because self-love is an actual identification of you as the divine being that you are. From that place, you step into your partnership with the entire universe to co-create. That's where all your power is. Now, of course, we're creating, right, 24/7, but you can create from an energy that's very dense, and what you will experience is a lot of density. Or you can choose to create from a vibrational frequency that has a lot of light in it, which of course is where love is. So when we're looking to cultivate the energy and the lines of communication between the conscious mind and the higher self, we have to learn the language of the higher self. That's number one. You have to know what you're listening to. Now, it's really simple to identify the voice of the ego. It's always consumed with fear. It doesn't want you to go forward. It wants you to stay in that pattern of, beating that dead horse and expecting it to get up and give you a ride. That's its MO. So we need to learn what the MO is of the higher self. The higher self is exactly as I described before. How about this? How about that? Oh, come over here. Take a look at this. Have a taste of that. Oh, let's do this. It's all about creation. It's all about going forward. It's all about exploring and experiencing life. Your higher self knows exactly what you need in order for you to expand as the magnificent soul that you are, and to express that divine through you, both in your relationships and in expressing your purpose, your mission. Mm-hmm. So we need to know, what's the MO of the higher self? Okay, so we know now that that's the way it speaks, but how does it feel? The higher self, when it speaks, when it gives you messages, its first mode of operandi is a sensation. You will actually have a sensation even before you have a thought or a question. The sensation that I most often experience is what I call God bumps, right? So it starts from the inside and moves out, as opposed to goosebumps that are just on the outside of your skin. I actually feel the waves of energy coming through. I remember when I first started, though, Cindy, really identifying that communication. Oh, now see, I'm feeling it right now. It's going from the top of my head to the tips of my toes, and my entire energy field is alive. When I first started, I actually felt what felt like a hand on my shoulder. And I could feel the weight of a hand. I could feel the warmth. And that was always my cue to lean in, pay attention. The other way is that in these sensations, you might have something like a taste in your mouth, or it will be something that is identifiable to you because it is completely unique to you, even though, there are others who may have experienced and do experience what I experience. But you are creating an intimate relationship with the true you. So you will develop this language. The other thing that's absolutely essential is that you must, and I'm sorry, we could converse about this all day, but I'm just going to lay it down. You must have a daily spiritual practice. Mm-hmm. You must. You cannot live in this mundane world and expect a relationship of love in a higher world. You just cannot get there. So the only way to do that is to develop a daily spiritual practice where you are constantly feeding your energy field and your heart center and all the parts of you that have been hardwired to come together as a system to enable you to connect with your higher self and your higher love.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose what that daily spiritual practice is. For some people, it's just walking out in nature and feeling that connection and oneness. For me, I start every single day with reading, writing, meditating, maybe, listening to music. But what I'm doing through that entire process, and by the way, it very often can go over 2 hours. I don't limit myself. So I've gotten into this rhythm. I know what time I need to wake up in the morning. I know what time I'm going to start my day. And everything in between there is all about me connecting with source, my higher self, and elevating, excuse me, my vibrational frequency so that I can create whatever I want to that day.
Yeah.
So that I can relate to you and our listeners like this, speaking only truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking truly from my heart.
Mm-hmm. It's just that higher level of, just that next elevated level of frequency, vibrational state that connects you, with love, with source, with your purpose and life.
And it connects you to all of this information that's otherwise inaccessible to you because it's of a different frequency. So when we start to really understand how energy works, we begin to realize that the reason we've been playing small is that we've been playing with small energy. When we want to play bigger, have a bigger love, a bigger life, a grander expression, we've got to have energy that can create all that. And so we look then at the components of love, the components of love like joy and peace and abundance and prosperity and creativity and freedom. I think freedom is one of the fastest sort of determinants as to where our energy is. Because if I ask myself, am I feeling free right now? Yes. I'm feeling so free. I'm going to tell you anything you want. Okay? It's just going to come pouring out of me. I'm like an overflow. The sense of freedom is what we are striving for, because then we are authentic. We are loving ourselves enough to be ourselves. And one of the telltale signs is that you want to share yourself. If you're not in the vibrational frequency of self-love, and there are parts of you that you're hiding, those parts of you will always keep you small and always keep you separate from the love that your heart is yearning for.
Oh, so it's that contraction energy rather
Exactly
than
right.
being in expansive.
Exactly.
Energy, which it's natural when you're in that expansive space that love will meet you there. It's easier to attract from that place
Exactly.
and alignment.
You can't avoid it. How about that? You can't avoid it. It is a universal law. All energy is seeking out other energy just like itself.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's being projected from you or projected from someone else, it's going to find you, but it'll find you right where you are. Mm-hmm. So if you want more, raise your vibrational frequency. You'll have more. And it's amazing like how immediate it is.
Yeah, it definitely whenever, and if you're feeling like you're, maybe you're someone that is, that that likes to operate on a higher frequency and does oftentimes, but is feeling a bit disconnected, then that's the invitation, that's the message to you to take some time and raise your vibrational state.
I love that, Cindy. I
It's
mean,
true.
you're so right on. And I love the Course in Miracles talks about every experience being one of two things. It's either a call for love or an answer to the call. That's it. Every experience is either a call for love or an answer to the call. Now, my interpretation of that, and maybe the extension of that perspective, which I think is so helpful, is that we know that whenever the ego is striving to control the situation, that's the call for love.
Mm-hmm.
Your higher self is always going to supply the answer to that call. Always. Because all it is love. So we learn, rather than, beating ourselves up, we just say, I forgot, could have reached for some love. And then just do it. The beauty about, living in this world of understanding energy and accepting that we are divine beings is that we also know that new life begins every nanosecond that we choose it to. We don't have to wait till tomorrow to start over again. It's bam, right now. Woo! I can reach for some love. That's it. And even faster.
Yeah.
And a whole brand new life will begin right from there.
Mm-hmm. Like this. Yeah. It's all connected, all interconnected. So one more question, and then I know you've got a gift to share with the audience. Why do people say that self-love can be selfish?
Because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not, and forgive me if I'm stepping on anyone's toes, there is not a person who they understood what self-love really is would ever even say that.
Mm-hmm.
The whole concept of it is so far removed from where they are that they can't grasp it. And so their job is to elevate their vibrational frequency so that they can start to absorb what self-love is. Self-love is the alignment with your higher self and the actions that it takes to make that connection and sustain that connection. When people look at acts of self-love as being selfish, it's because they don't see themselves as worthy enough to do that for themselves. They're still living in the world where that old paradigm where other people's expectations are more important, living up to other people's description or idea of who you should be or what relationship is all about. It's the old paradigm. And if we're going to truly experience the bliss of freedom in relationship, we have to first experience freedom within ourselves.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It's the only way. Now, I will tell you, there are many instances where the actions that we take will appear as selfish through eyes that see selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. And I know you've heard my story. I won't go into it now because of time constraints. But to make a long story short, I had this incredibly powerful personal epiphany. A year later, I was leaving what had defined me for nearly 30 years. my marriage, my home, my job, my community, my friends, much of my family. That bold move impacted a lot of lives. There were a lot of those lives that looked upon what I did as being very selfish. What they didn't know was that I had been suffering, so I actually felt like I was dying. I could feel my spirit dying. I had accumulated all of these medical conditions that I kept trying to tell myself were just because I was aging. I had a recurrent nightmare that I couldn't find my wedding ring. That was not a recurrent nightmare. It was a panic attack. And it happened over and over and over. I would have it 3 or 4 times a week. And what was happening was that I was deteriorating. I was in such conflict because my conditioning told me I had to be the perfect wife. I had to be the perfect mother. I had to be the perfect friend, the perfect community pillar. I had to be this and this and this. And that's the way I lived my life. And all the parts of me, that many of them, Cindy, that you described as you were talking about, my certifications and so forth, those were part of me that I was trying to bury, because in the community that I was in, they weren't looked upon as anything to be proud of, but were rather an eccentricity. I was dying. And here's what happened, and this is what I want each and every one of you to really take in. Months, I don't even think it was a year, after I left that life, knowing that I needed to put my spirit in the forefront and make it the determining factor for all of my decisions. One day, I discovered I didn't have any more of those medical conditions. I hadn't had a panic attack since I left my home. All of those were because I was not living true to who I was, nor to the mission that I had to be here. Did I love being a wife? In a lot of ways, yeah. Did I love, of course, being a mother to my children and all of the life that we had? It was idyllic. I had everything and anything anybody could ever want. Of course, there were parts of it that I loved, but the essence of me was dying. There was no place for me to be expressed. And it, of course, then affected my mental state. I lost confidence in myself. I didn't trust myself at all. And then, of course, I didn't trust others because I didn't trust myself. And then it happened where it leached out into the physical aspects of me. But this is what we need to understand. There is no separation between body, mind, spirit, and the spirit is in charge. The body and the mind are supposed to be serving it. So here I am, still 20 years later, none of those conditions, no panic attacks, speaking to people all around the world. I have helped thousands of people to come into their hearts and to start living as they're meant to live. And that is free and powerful and, of course, fulfilled, successful in really high-level relationships, because that's our potential when we embrace the fact that we are divine beings, and that's how we're meant to be living and to be the platform, the foundation for what we teach, because we teach by how we live.
Amen to that. Well, that was powerful, Marcy. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and love that just pours out of you.
It's my joy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, because I follow my bliss.
So I know you have a gift for our watchers and listeners
We
out
do.
there that we're posting.
Yes.
What tell go ahead and share
Yeah.
what that
So
is.
this is a training that I put together, and the name of it is 5 Critical Things That You Need to Know in Order to Find True Love,
Mm,
Lasting True Love. And it's an energetic journey. I take you through the beginnings of understanding what energy is and what are the most blatant energies that are standing between you and the love that you want to experience. And you're going to be shocked.
awesome.
You're going to be shocked. Yeah.
I I love it.
Yeah.
Well, what a generous gift. And now that you've left a cliffhanger for everyone, and everybody needs to opt in and, you know, definitely get that complimentary gift and take a look at it. Look at, part of this, the reason why I put this together is to really unfold anything that might be standing in the way of you
Sure.
creating that connection with self and with partnership and relationship to really have your bliss in life, because it's all possible. You get to have it all. And yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Even that's so hard for people to wrap their heads around, that you can have it all. And that's why I say this is not a journey of the head. This is a journey of the heart, because the heart doesn't know limitations. So that's what we need to have lead us through all of this.
that and in a childlike state of curiosity too.
Mhm.
I feel like that's so important.
Yeah,
Well, again, Marcy, I could definitely continue this conversation on and on and on.
I know.
We get to go, and thank you again for being here. And those of you that are taking the time to watch and listen and explore this journey, I just I acknowledge you for taking this pathway to really opening your heart and up leveling your love life, and creating that connection within self, which will naturally attract in the yummy, juicy love that you're seeking, or up leveling the current relationship.
That's right.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, again, everyone, we will see you soon. And Marcy, always wonderful to see you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my heart with your audience and to be a part of your incredible project once again. It's always a joy, and it truly is my honor, Cindy. So thank you so much, and thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye.